Sports.
We are Baltimore. We are Ohio.
Well, when you lose 9 in a row, it's time to take out frustration on somebody. And the Reds waited until the 6th inning last night when they unloaded for 10 runs in a 12-5 victory over the Detroit Tigers. And now it's time to string a few hits together and try and make it back-to-back wins tonight. And another picture-perfect weather night for baseball in downtown Cincinnati. Welcome to Great American Ballpark. The first of 3, the first and only trip all summer long into the Queen City by the Los Angeles Dodgers. And look who's in the booth tonight, alongside the Cowboy, Jeff Brantley and Jim Day. I'm Tom Brenneman. Welcome, as always, to Reds baseball. And, you know, we've been talking seemingly every at-bat, every game, going back to just before the All-Star break in Miami when Joey Votto found some kind of a flaw in his swing. And ever since then, he has inflicted incredible damage against opposing pitchers.
It's amazing what he's been able to do, Tom. You look back to 2010, his MVP year, and you see how well Votto hit the baseball. Then the knee surgery, then the knee issue in 2014, and everybody wondering what was going to happen with Joey Votto. Some folks even screaming at their TVs. But as the All-Star break changed to the back end of 2015, we are now seeing Joey Votto back to that MVP form, swinging the bat with authority, getting on base with regularity. If he can keep this up, his numbers will approach that 2010 season.
Well, the Reds are going to need Votto and a few more tonight. They're facing a first-place Dodger team from a National League's Western Division. And when we come back, Jim Day is going to talk about that 10-run inning last night. We're going to hear from his main man, Brandon, when we return. You're watching Reds Baseball on Fox Sports Ohio.
Network. Stay close to CincinnatiUSA.com. By Chevy, check out their award-winning lineup only at your Tri-State Chevy dealer. and by Skyline Chili. Feeling good? It's Skyline time.
Good evening, I'm meteorologist Scott Dimick. It's time for a Reds rally. The Dodgers will take on the Reds tonight at 7:10. First pitch temperature 71. Sea of cumulus clouds that bubbled up over GABP this afternoon will gradually fade away as the evening goes on. For the final out, we're down to 65 degrees. If you're staying out late after the game, plan for temperatures nearing 60 degrees. Enjoy the game on Fox Sports Ohio.
I'm Jim Day, and it was an historic night, not only here, but at the Mets game in, and it's the first time in Major League history that two teams won by at least 7 runs after trailing by 5 runs on the same day. The Reds trailed 5-0, won 12-5. The Mets trailed 7-2 and won 16-7 in their game. It had never happened before. Now, during that 10-run 6th inning for Cincinnati, Eugenio Suarez had a home run and a double, drove in 3. You would think that would be the best performance of the inning? No. He was bettered by Brandon Phillips, who had an unbelievable 6th inning. Started it off with a home run. And then that was a 2-run shot. And then followed that up with a 2 RBI triple. He had 4 runs driven in the 6th inning yesterday, en route to a 10-run inning as Suarez scored on this triple, as well as Joey Votto all the way from first base. If you check out our IGS Bringing the Energy, what an impressive inning. Phillips, only the 2nd player since 2008 to have a home run triple in the same inning. Former Red Edwin Encarnacion did it last year for the Toronto Blue Jays. And Phillips becomes only the 2nd player since 1975 to have a homer, a triple, and 4 runs driven in the same inning. Brandon Inge did it in 2004. Ironically enough, he did it for the Tigers. Brandon Phillips did it against the Tigers. Did the Reds save some runs tonight? John Lamb hopes so. Lamb versus Wood. Lamb will stand in the way of the Reds rookie who'd like to get a victory against his hometown team. Reds baseball next.
Go 5.5 for Don Mattingly's team ahead of Arizona. And their starting lineup tonight reads as follows. Jimmy Rollins at short, Yasiel Puig in right, Adrian Gonzalez at first, Turner at third. Van Slyken left. Utley just came over from Philadelphia. He's at second. A.J. Ellis is the catcher. Enrique Hernandez is in center field. And Alex Wood on the mound. And starting it for the Reds, his third big league game. A Los Angeles native is John Lamb. First pitch of the game to Jimmy Rollins is in there. Steve Reich one. We're underway.
Well, these guys should be fresh in John Lamb's mind. His first major league start was in L.A. against these guys.
Check swing and a foul ball, and quickly ahead of a longtime Philly turned Dodger, Jimmy Rollins. Now, what are your impressions so far of Mr. Lamb? I know it's only 2 games.
I like what he is doing, especially early in the ball game. And the thing for me, Tom, is building on the positive. When he gets himself into trouble there in the 4th and the 5th inning, he's got to figure out a way to get out of that without it turning into a monster inning.
And of course, the mistake pitch he made, he was throwing a really nice game in his major league debut before surrendering the 3-run home run off the bat of Adrian Gonzalez, which made a very good pitching line look not so good. Rather than 2 runs, it turned into 5. In his last start, he pitched into the 6th inning and allowed 3 runs.
He just seems, as you watch him and as you speak to John Lamb, he has a good understanding about how to set up hitters. That's why you see the 15 strikeouts in 11 1/3 innings. He's not overpowering guys. He's pitching well, and that was not a good pitch there.
Hooked into the corner down the left field line. This will be a 2-base hit for Jimmy Rollins. These Dodgers come limping into Great American Ballpark despite being a division leader. They've lost 5 in a row.
Tried to cut that ball in on the hands of Rollins, and he just didn't quite get it in there.
Not only have the Dodgers lost 5 in a row overall, but they have lost 8 consecutive road games. That's the 4th longest road losing streak this season. And unfortunately for the Reds, they own a 9-game road losing streak back through May and early June. That ball killed by Yasiel Puig, and it is off the wall. This will score Rollins. So back-to-back doubles to start tonight for the Dodgers in a 1-0 lead.
First pitch change up, and you see where that pitch is, right over the heart of the plate. And the Reds and John Lamb very fortunate that ball did not land in the seats because it was a rocket.
Will you throw me that 7-7?
Puig has missed so much playing time this season. That's his 12th double. He has 10 home runs. And here is Adrian Gonzalez. Really, from start to now, he has been their best and most consistent offensive player, has Gonzalez. .288 batter, 24 home runs, 73 runs batted in, closing in again on 30 doubles this year. And man, oh man, when he walks through the gates at Great American Ballpark, look out. In 25 career games, nearly a .340 batter, 9 home runs, 10 doubles, and in the 25 games, he's knocked in 22 runs. It was on this date 3 years ago when Gonzalez, Carl Crawford, Josh Beckett, Nick Punto came over in that 9-player blockbuster deal from the Boston Red Sox. Gonzalez dramatically blasted a 3-run home run in the first inning that night, his first at bat as a Dodger. And since that game, he leads all National League players in runs batted in, 311 of them. One-two pitch. That ball hit hard into left field. It'll back up De Jesus to the warning track. Puig stays put. 1 out. The Reds on defense presented by Ford. De Jesus is starting left field. Bourgeois in center. Bruce in right. The regular characters along the infield. And Lamb part of a battery with Tucker Barnhart.
When you look at the first 3 batters of the ball game, Tom, and a lot of young pitchers fall into this fault line. your sight line to the catcher has got to be the bottom of the kneecaps, not just in or out or looking for a good break on the breaking ball. All three of these first batters, every pitch, changeup, breaking ball, and fastball, has been up around mid-thigh.
Now Justin Turner has gone from a backup player, journeyman player really, to all of a sudden
a cult hero in LA.
Yes. I mean, he looks the LA part, doesn't he? The long hair and the beard and the whole 9 yards. And 304 batter, 14 home runs, 49 batted in. I mean, they have all these high-priced stars. It's a Dodger team with a stunning payroll of up over $300 million. I mean, it is by far, by over $100 million, more than the next closest team. And they just keep acquiring more and more and more money. And, you know, for a lot of people who see this Dodger team play, and it goes back to a story I know that you were talking about, Cowboy, before the game, written by the outstanding longtime baseball writer Bob Nightingale. You know, the adage being money can't buy you love, meaning there has to be something outside of statistics and basing players that you acquire. There has to be more than just those cold hard numbers, because a lot of people will tell you, with all the money in the world and all the statistical analysis that the Dodgers are trying to run their franchise by now, they cannot find what you would call a good chemistry mix.
And everybody's got to be pulling from the same end of the rope. And granted, there are individual statistics in this game, but ultimately somebody's got to be willing to hit the ball to second base, to advance the runner from second to third, and take an 0 for 1. Because you get no credit for moving the runner over unless you're bunting. But that's the type of mentality that you have to have as a club, to sacrifice for one another if you want to be a championship team.
I mean, they just recently acquired Matt Latos, and of course here with the Reds, Latos was a big star when he was healthy, and you know, really their 1A pitcher, the 1 year Cueto was hurt, he was a legitimate Reds ace. They just picked him up in a deal, and you know, you give him 3 or 4 starts, it doesn't go well, and you're banished to the bullpen, making what, 15, 17 million bucks a year.
Does not seem as though the money matters. There have been a lot of acquisitions by the Dodgers where they've just handpicked who they want to keep, and then they throw 15, 20 million out the door.
Swing and a miss by Turner. He's out of there on strikes, 2 away in the inning. And we'll talk a lot about this over the next couple of days. I mean, you can't pin all that on their new general manager who came from Tampa Bay, Andrew Friedman, because they already had a lot of players making a ton of money. But for a general manager who has professed, and I mean lives and dies by the new Moneyball sort of theory in baseball, they are playing Moneyball. But I mean money more than ball. Because every time they turn around and make a trade, they're bringing in guys that are making more money than the last guy.
Well, they're playing Steinbrenner ball, if you ask me.
Friedman's the guy they brought in as a president of baseball operations. I mean, you know, he's running a show. And like a lot of teams now, you hire a general manager. We saw Theo Epstein do that in Chicago, and there are a lot of others out there. 1-1 pitch. Tony La Russa in Arizona hiring Dave Stewart.
Now, granted, Tom, you have to have players that are going to be able to put up successful statistical numbers on a daily basis and a yearly basis. But you've also got to have players that can at least somewhat live together in the locker room. And personalities clash more than what even we see now in this great media environment, where it seems like there are no secrets. Personality clashes can affect those sabermetric numbers.
Now, of course, Don Mattingly tried to confront a lot of this over the last couple of years as managers. He goes to 3-1 on Scott Van Slyke. I mean, he's called his team out. He's called players out for walking out of the clubhouse dressed and out the door while he's still sitting there answering questions in the media room next to the Dodger dugout, or locker room rather. Been well documented Yasiel Puig, whether it's showing up late to this or showing up late to that or not running out of ball. There's a strike on the outside corner. 3-2 on Van Slyke. You haven't heard much out of Puig this year, though. He's been hurt a lot.
Well, ultimately, Tom, when you come to the ballpark, your number one concern has to be leaving the ballpark with a win. And if that's not your number one goal, if it's only to get 3 hits or if it's only to walk 3 times, your team's not going to be very successful, because jealousy on the field of play doesn't work.
Fouled away in a 3-2 pitch. Puig was running from second to third. Now, some of you may be saying, well, the Dodgers are winning. They're in first place, aren't they? They are. There's no disputing that. But there's also no disputing that you would not consider them among the heavyweights right now in the National League, even though they are a division leader and more than capable of putting it together and advancing on to the World Series. Here's ball 4.
It's a pretty good pitch right there. Yeah, I think that Clayton Kershaw said it best the other day. He said that he felt like the team needed to panic. They needed a sense of urgency. And this is coming from one of the best, if not the best, pitcher in the game. And that basically tells me that there are a lot of times where they're just going through the motions. They're treading water.
Because make no mistake about it, barring a complete collapse by more than just one team, if you're inside the National League West or inside the National League East,
you better win it.
You better win your division.
Because the Cubs and the Pirates are not letting off the gas pedal.
No, that's a big series starting tonight out in San Francisco. The Giants will have one final crack at legitimately getting back into the wild card race over the next 3 days. Here's strike 1 to Chase Utley, just traded, playing tonight in his 4th game as a Dodger. Of course, he played collegiately in UCLA, so a homecoming of sorts for Utley. 2 on, 2 out. Slow breaking ball, just missed. .25 pitch inning for Lamb, and he still needs 1 more out to finish him off. Back-to-back double start the inning, producing a run, and now 2 on with 2 out.
Yeah, I've got to believe with Lamb growing up in the LA area, he had to have watched Chase Utley playing at UCLA. Of course, he may have only been 10 years old, but he was still watching.
If that.
Yeah.
Fastball swung on and fouled back out of play. Still 2-2 on Utley. Lamb the pause, check of the runners. Popped up and out of play by Utley. It remains still 2 balls and 2 strikes.
It's a big batter for Lamb here. You get out of this inning with only 1 run. He's starting to get the ball back down around the kneecaps of the batters. But if you go 3-2 here, you allow the Dodgers to start the runners with a batter that can put the ball into the gaps.
And another foul ball by Utley. Utley had an incredible run in Philadelphia. One of the Phillies' all-time greats in their history. He did everything that a player could do there.
Both on and off the field.
Yes, indeed. Injuries have certainly taken their toll on Utley the last number of seasons. He's gone swinging. And that will end the inning. So a pretty good recovery by Lamb. He allows a run, a couple of hits, and 2 left. The Reds will get a crack at Alex Wood when we return. Price's starting lineup presented by Meyer. Bourgeois in center, Suarez at short, Joey at first, Phillips at second, Frazier at third, and Bruce in right. DeJesus in left, Barnhart at behind the plate for John Lamb. And on the mound just came over in that huge deal from the Atlanta Braves. Makes his, let's see here, 5th start now as a Dodger. 20 starts this year with the Atlanta Braves is Alex Wood.
Very different mechanics for Wood. Kind of a herky-jerky motion, if you will. Almost looks like he's trying to reach back for the rosin back towards second base before he comes to the plate. And he can be deceptive the first time around.
Low, ball one. He's only 24 years old. 21-20 with a 3.10 ERA in 86 games. 55 of them starts in 3 big league seasons up and down with the Atlanta Braves. Made his major league debut back in 2013.
Watch him stab this ball back towards second base. That's the kind of mechanics, if you're a general manager or a pitching coach, you think, oh, what's going to give on the next pitch? It'll scare you a little bit. But so far, this kid stayed healthy.
Back up through the middle, and Rollins unable to get there. A base hit by Bourgeois to begin the Reds' first inning. Take a look at Los Angeles defensively. We'll see a very different looking team when the Reds start at right-hander. But with a left-hander, Van Slyke, Hernandez is taking over for Jock Peterson as their everyday center fielder. And of course Puig in right. Turner, Rollins, Utley, Gonzalez around the infield, and A.J. Ellis getting a rare start tonight in place of the one-time #1 draft pick of the Reds, Yasmani Grandal. Eugenio Suarez coming off an excellent game last night. Retired his first 2 times against his former club, the Tigers. Then hit a home run with 1 out to start that 10-run barrage in the 6th inning. He added a 2-run double down the right field line in that same inning. And had a single and scored on Votto's home run in the 8th.
Well, both of these pitchers tonight, both John Lamb and Alex Wood, like to fade the changeup away from the righties and then sneak that fastball right on the inside corner.
Tried to check his swing, was unable to do so. 1-2. Last game out for Wood was against the Oakland Athletics. He gave up 3 runs and 5 hits in 5 2/3 innings. Grounded to third. Turner to second. Utley turns it over nicely, and that's a fine double play. Turned by the Dodger infield.
Well, this double play made possible by the turn by Chase Utley. Watch this turn right on top of him. Still gets rid of it. And a lot of second basemen have bailed out on that.
And Turner got rid of that ball so quickly at third.
Well, he threw the ball from where he caught it because he knew he had to hurry with Bourgeois running. Threw the ball from the shoe tops, but it was a strike throw to second.
So now Votto, and he takes outside ball 1. Joey at 309. It is 24th home run of the year here last night. He now has 62 runs batted in. We showed you some of the numbers for Votto since the All-Star break, and we have been talking about it, and deservedly so, every single night. Leads the National League in walks. 3 times over the last 4 years he led the league in that category. Since the All-Star break, leads the major leagues in walks and on base percentage. He's also collecting plenty of hits. Leads all National Leaguers in hitting, doubles, and in extra base hits. He is rolling. A 4-pitch walk.
There are many people, Tom, that would tell you there's no way Votto can continue at this pace throughout August and then into September. I mean, he's hitting right at a 400 clip and getting on base with walks as well. But so far in the second half, nobody's been able to stop him.
Now Brandon Phillips. Phillips inserted into that cleanup spot last night, and we showed you he's only been there less than 10 times this season. But when they put him in here, he's really done a good job. And well, last night he had 2 hits and 5 at bats. He knocked in 4 runs in the 6th inning alone, a 2-run home run and a 2-run triple. 1 ball and 1 strike.
There are very few hitters in baseball that can hit leadoff, get on base when you need them to, hit number 2 to move runners along, and then all of a sudden you hit them in the number 4 spot, and then they're in an RBI category where they've got to hit the ball into the gap or out of the ballpark. But we've seen Phillips do them all.
I tell you, looking up on that scoreboard, I don't know what all of a sudden has happened to the New York Mets. Could you believe that game yesterday in Philadelphia? They hit 8 home runs, and they've already scored 3 runs tonight, and they're batting in the 2nd inning.
And that was a game where Jacob deGrom was knocked out early in that ball game, and it looked like the Phillies were in a runaway train mode. And the Mets said, not so fast.
In fact, this game and that game walked hand in hand in the Major League history last night. It was the first time ever where on the same day 2 teams trailed by 5 runs and came back to win by 7 or more runs. Votto will start at first on his 3-2 pitch with 2 away. And a ground ball to short will force Rollins to throw to first, and that'll end it. A hit, a walk, 1 left. End of 1, 1-0 Dodgers. From a day off. Now look, with no days off on the right, way over 500. With an off day, 5 games under. They don't score as much. Batting average way down. In fact, they've been shut out in those 15 games 4 times. Now you can throw that by the board tonight. As they scored after 2 batters, they lead 1-0. They bat in the 2nd inning. It was a lengthy opening inning for John Lamb through 30 pitches. So he could use a quick and efficient second inning as he faces a latter third. A.J. Ellis, Enrique Hernandez, and the pitcher Wood. And he falls behind Ellis. 2 balls and a strike. Ellis was a regular catcher before Grandal arrived on the scene, and all of a sudden Grandal starting to play like the player the Reds drafted #1 out of Miami. He was in that Matt Latos deal. That is not a good start to the second inning, walking the #7 hitter.
Well, it looked like at the end of the first inning that Lamb was starting to find his rhythm a little bit. But after sitting for a while in the bottom of the first, he's starting to get underneath the baseball again, and the ball is elevating out of the strike zone.
Enrique Hernandez.
They call him Kike.
Yes, indeed. Just celebrated his 24th birthday yesterday.
And you see Tucker Barnhart going out to the mound. He's seeing what I'm seeing as far as Lamb getting underneath the baseball. I was always of the opinion, if I'm doing something wrong mechanically on the mound, don't wait 5 or 6 pitches to come tell me. Tell me right now. Because if I'm not feeling it, then I don't know I'm doing it. That's a good pitch.
Hernandez working on his 3rd organization. He was originally drafted out of Puerto Rico in the 6th round in 2009 by Houston. Was traded to Miami in July of 2014. A lot of guys you've never heard of, minor league guys, unless you're a hardcore follower of minor league baseball. But then he was involved in that big deal again the Dodgers made during the offseason, coming from Miami. That was with D. Gordon, Dan Herron involved in that trade, with Hernandez coming to the Dodgers. 3-1 now. In fact, he played for both major league teams, Houston and Miami, a season ago. Straight up in the air, but out of play. Well, this Reds bullpen has just been, up until the Raisel-Iglesias game, they have been logging so many innings. Last night, no different. Sampson lasting only 5. And the way that Lamb is starting this game tonight, unless he rights a ship, it is going to be a long night for the bullpen again. He has thrown 40 pitches, and there's nobody out here in the second inning. Lamb did not walk a batter his last start. Struck out 8, didn't walk anybody. He struck out 2 so far tonight, but he's walked 2.
Three straight fastballs to Hernandez. And that tells you a little bit about how Lamb is feeling right now. You know that if you can get a breaking ball over the plate or a changeup over the plate, you got Hernandez. But right now is all fastball.
They threw him another fastball, and this one is playable. Jay Bruce calls off Brandon and Bourgeois, coming in from right to make the catch. 1 out. So now the pitcher, Alex Wood. 6 hits and 40 at bats. He does have a double. He does have 4 runs batted in. But he shortens up, pulls the bat away, ball one. Wood has 5 sacrifices this year.
You can see Alex Wood out of the corner of his eye really checking out Frazier, because Frazier is right on top of it.
Todd backs up, now comes running in again, and it's popped foul back to the screen. And Frazier again all over the bat. And Wood taking a long look down at their third base coach, Ron Renicky.
No more Lorenzo Bundy.
This will be handled by Barnhart, and Wood gets a job done on a 2-strike pitch. Well, right now we invite you to tweet your strongest fan photo. Use hashtag OhioDataStrongFan. We might put your picture up during an upcoming broadcast. It's brought to you by T-Mobile. We'll have one coming up later on. So a runner in scoring position, 2 are out. Back to the leadoff man and Jimmy Rollins. He started the game with a double down the left field line and scored on a double by the next batter, Yasiel Puig, down the left field line. That's the only run for either team so far. We're in the 2nd inning. Dodgers coming off back-to-back series where they were swept. That one pulled foul. They got swept by a down Oakland team. And they were swept, yes, and they were swept by a good Houston team, including a no-hitter. But amazingly, during this 5-game losing streak, they only lost 1 game off their overall lead in the NL West because the Giants have not played well. They've been outscored 19-9 during the 5-game losing streak. 2 games walk-off losses in extra innings. And they haven't hit at all. And outside of back-to-back doubles, this one in the air to left center. Somebody, oh, miraculously, somebody made the catch. That ball's in the air for a long time. And in fairness to De Jesus, he's not an outfielder. Oktoberfest. We'll have ceremonies and activities before the game celebrating German Heritage Day. The first 20,000 fans receive an always popular, and I mean this, Red Stein. Those things are nice. Thanks to Hollywood Casino. Come on down to the ballpark. That's the next time the Reds are in town. They'll play tomorrow night, play Thursday afternoon against these Dodgers, and hit the streets for Milwaukee and Chicago, that toddling town. They'll come back against Milwaukee, the Pirates, and the Cardinals. Man, Wrigley Field, if they go out west, they being the Cubs, and they play well, the next 6 days they'll collide with the Giants and these Dodgers. If they come back home playing good baseball, when the Reds come in there for that Monday night, that place will be rocking. 1-0 pitch to Frazier is a breaking ball down and in. Cubbies are red hot. After that very brief losing skid on the heels of a long winning streak, they've won 5 in a row. They're only 3.5 behind the Pirates for second place. Lined to the wall off 2 bounces for Frazier. 1 bounce for Frazier. And Todd in with a double to start this second inning with the Reds down a run. Good start.
A low fastball. You would say, hey, that's a pitcher's pitch. That first pitch fastball that catches plate to Frazier, he usually squares that one up.
All right, let's see if Jay Bruce can tie this baby up, perhaps even give the Reds a second inning lead. Waves through that pitch, strike one. Bruce, that batting average just spiraling quickly. Sinking now to 235. It's hard to imagine, we've talked about it for years, it's hard to imagine that a player could be any more of a streaky player than Jay Bruce. The first 2 months of the season, you didn't even know he was on the team. And then he got so hot, really for a longer period of time than we've seen his hot streaks in the past. And now all of a sudden this slump is lasting a lot longer than many we've seen in the past. Frazier back as Rollins tried to sneak in back behind him to pick him off.
And for me, Tom, I don't think slumps, whether they're pitching, fielding, throwing, hitting, I don't think they have anything to do with the physical capabilities of the individual. It's all from the neck up. I think that's where slumps come from. You have a bad game, the next day you try to do something, you try to a little bit too hard, and then the third day you're like, all right, well, I've had a couple of tough ball games. You really try to turn it on, and the next thing you know, it's 2 weeks and you're not pitching well. Your ERA is going through the roof. You can't catch the ball. You can't throw it. Or for a hitter, the ball looks like a golf ball coming up there.
You saw those numbers. Here we are on the 25th of August, and Bruce this month is a 143 batter with 1 home run all month. He's out of there on strikes. First strike out of the game for Wood.
Big sweeping slider. No chance. Yeah, I got some advice early in my career, Tom. Came from Goose Gossage, as a matter of fact. He said, write things down when you're going really good. How you feel. Not what your stats were, but mentally how you felt in the ball game and coming to the ballpark. And also when you're really stinking, when you can't get anybody out, you feel terrible, your arm feels like lead, write that down. And he said, balance it in between. He said if you can stay in between those, he goes, you'll pitch for a long time.
Good advice.
And he was right on the money.
Ivan De Jesus Jr. looks at a fastball strike, 1-1.
Problem that we have as athletes, we don't want to identify with failure. We only want to think about the good times. Well, if you can identify with failure, you can improve your mental outlook on the game. Because realistically, if you don't know what you're doing wrong, or you don't understand what the thought process is when you're going around, when you're going bad, how are you going to correct it? You're just going to luck into it? I don't believe in that.
Frazier, the tying run at second, 1 out, 2-2 on De Jesus, and that's too low. Full count. Tucker Barnhart next. Reds bat here on a beautiful night in Cincinnati. Game 1 of 3 against the Dodgers. It's 1-0 Los Angeles on doubles to start the first inning by Rollins and Puig. That's ball 4. De Jesus flips about away. Second walk given up by Wood. Coming up later on, we'll have our Miller time moment. Brought to you by Miller Lite. Of course, we had moments plural last night, running all those swings in the 10-run 6th inning. So here's Tucker Barnhart, 264 hitter, 3 home runs and 10 batted in. Well, they're really paying a lot of attention to Frazier out there at second base. Todd was running frequently. Of course, he was getting on frequently, for the first half of the season. Not as much lately. Double play ball all the way here, and that'll do it in the Reds' second inning. We go to the third with the Dodgers lead 1-0. It was Tony Perez weekend. Sam McCure will talk about his road back to the major leagues. And Brian Finnegan, of course, he was picked up in the Johnny Cueto trade, sits down with Brian Giesenslaw in Louisville. A brand new Reds Weekly, Jeff Pecoro and Doug Flynn tomorrow at 6 on Fox Sports Ohio. It's a great show. They had a in between innings. We talk about it all the time, and they recognize a serviceman or servicewoman, whether they be currently active or, in the case tonight, John Mayer, a fellow who's up here in the booth the other night. He's married to a woman formerly known as Julie Freeze. I went to high school with her out at Anderson. But Colonel Mayer, 30 years, has served in places like Germany, Kosovo, England, Bosnia. He's been all over the world serving the United States of America for over 30 years. He will retire at the end of this month. A salute, Colonel. Thank you.
He's probably seen a little bit.
Oh, yeah. Especially you start talking about Serbia and Kosovo. He's probably seen some very bad things.
Bosnia.
Well, we enjoyed meeting him up here the other night. Here's Yasiel Puig.
Tom, I don't think any of us that have not served in the military can appreciate what they do.
Oh, yeah.
And what they've done so that we can do what we're doing until you're actually out there on the line. I just don't know that that's possible. All we could do is just thank them and hope that we don't have to stand in their boots.
And thank them is right. We going on strikes this time.
Hard cutter in, starts right on the inside corner, and you can see that slightly sideways spin as the ball comes across the plate. Hitter sees it as a strike until it gets right on top of it and cuts right underneath the hand.
Strike one on Adrian Gonzalez. He flied out to left field his first time up.
Slowly but surely, Lamb starting to getting the ball back down in the strike zone.
It's a dandy of a breaking ball, spun up there at 68 miles per hour. Your old teammate Bob Melvin, now the manager of the Oakland A's, used to say all the time, and he had the statistical data to show it. You spin a ball up there 68 or 69 miles per hour. I'm not talking about a hanger now.
Right.
And he maintains it is a speed at which hitters do not hit the ball. It's so under the radar.
It's under hitting speed. And I maintain, and I pitched off this. I talk about it. The toughest thing for any hitter to do is to wait. It's not to catch up with that 95-mile-an-hour fastball, because if you see 95, if you see 100 enough, you're going to catch it. But to sit there and wait, oh no, because in the back of your mind you're thinking he just might shatter my bat, and then you got to go back to the dugout and you got 24 guys telling you about it.
Well, he couldn't hit 68, but he can hit 90. Gonzalez a double. That's a third hit for the Dodgers, and all three of them two-base hits.
Tried to cut this ball away. You see where Barnhart is setting, but you also see where the ball is. Barnhart raises his glove, and when the catcher has to raise his glove from where the set position is, that doesn't usually bode well for the pitcher.
Now Justin Turner. In the air, left field, drifting back is De Jesus, and it's into the first row. A 2-run home run by Turner, his 15th of the year. And the Dodgers extend their lead over Lamb and the Reds to 3-0.
Well, that looked like Turner was fooled on that pitch, but he's such a strong fella, still able to pull it out of here. Way out in front, caught it off the end of the bat, still hooked it out of the ballpark.
Like the batter, he walked his first time up. Broken bat roller foul. Swing and a miss. And Van Slyke out of there on strikes. That's a fourth one of those tonight for Lamb. 2 are out in the inning. Well, this is a home run hitting team. There's no two ways about that. I mean, take a look at this already. And here we have a month and really almost 2 full weeks left in this season. And already the most home runs since 2006 by a Dodger team. Now, some might say that's the only way they score runs. And that does not bode well for an appearance in the playoffs. We'll see. We'll see if they get into the playoffs.
Well, most baseball people will tell you you have to manufacture runs throughout the postseason. You can slug against some teams, but pretty difficult to slug your way all the way to the last game of the World Series. Sooner or later, you got to figure out how to move a runner and score a run from third.
One ball, 2 strikes on Utley. And a slow breaking ball strikes him out for the second time. But a double by Gonzalez, a home run from Turner. And it's 3-0 Dodgers.
here at Great American Ballpark. I am with a unique group up here. 104 ninth graders along with 12 chaperones. They're from Greenville, South Carolina. And every year to begin the school year, they go on what's called a mystery trip, where they get in a bus and they have no idea where they're going. In the past, they've gone to Nashville, Cleveland, Niagara Falls, clear down to Florida. Well, this year's stop was Cincinnati, Ohio, and they are actually donning some shirts that say mystery trip, and they're designed after the Reds All-Star logo. And with me here is Adelaide Vergnall, who's going to represent this group. Now, you guys did some cool stuff today, right? What'd you do?
Yes, sir. We went to the Freedom Center, and we also went to the zoo.
Awesome. They are from the Christ Church Episcopal School. Now, this is a very unique way to begin the school year. You guys got to feel blessed.
Yes, sir, we are. It's a really good bonding time for us all to start off the year.
Tell me what you guys are. You're staying overnight tonight, right? And going back tomorrow?
Yes, sir.
Are you a big baseball fan at all?
I've never really seen many baseball games, but maybe I'll become one.
How about you guys? You guys having fun around here? Tom and Cowboy, I was lucky to go on a picnic to a local park when I was in ninth grade. These kids getting the trip of a lifetime and having fun up here. And by the way, Krista Bailey is also amongst this group. She is the niece of Dan Hoard, you know, the UC broadcaster and the play-by-play voice of the Cincinnati Bengals. So some good kids up here all the way from Greenville, South Carolina. And we welcome you to Cincinnati.
We welcome you indeed. Boy, I love the manners down the Cowboy.
Man,
you know, I mean, both my folks from the South, and of course you live down south, and every question Jim Day answered, yes, sir.
That is a total reflection on their mom and dad and their upbringing. And that gal right there, phenomenal mom and dad.
No doubt about it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. No, sir. I love it.
And I guarantee you, every one of those kids, you'd have the same thing.
Same thing.
Every one of them. Day and age when manners are just slipping by the wayside, it seems like. There's a ground ball to second. Bourgeois retired. And now Eugenio Suarez with two down. He bounced into a double play, and it was a beautifully turned double play by the Dodgers in the first inning. On a hot smash of the third baseline, Turner fielded the ball, did not plant, no nothing, just fired to Utley, who took a hit from the sliding Bourgeois and was able to turn it over in time to complete the double play. 1-0 the count on Suarez. Reds trail 3-0.
I mean, even at 89 miles an hour, all of that motion and all of that extra movement from Alex Wood, it takes you a little while to pick it up.
Line to third, and that'll end the inning. The first 1-2-3 inning by either pitcher tonight. We've played 3 in Cincinnati, and the Dodgers lead by 3. MLB.TV serves up real-time highlights and pitch tracking info on your out-of-market fantasy players live or on demand. Get MLB.TV tonight. 3-0 Dodgers in front. They come to bat against John Lamb. Here in the 4th inning, Lamb has thrown 72 pitches through the front 3. Allowed doubles to the first 2 hitters of the night, Rollins and Puig, for a 1-0 lead. A 1-out double in the 3rd. He gave up 2 Gonzalez, and the next batter, Turner, hit 1 to the seats and left. Every night there will be important games played by these Dodgers with the 1.5 game lead inside their division. And as we talked about earlier, the difference between the Western Division leader right now, or the 2nd place team, and in the 2nd wild card spot. That's why we said the Giants, this is really their last gasp to get legitimately back in the wild card race. They trail the Cubs, whom they play tonight. They play the Cubs trailing by 6.5 in the wild card, and that's the 3rd best record of those that are not division leaders. That's how good the Pirates and the Cubs have been. Fly ball to right. Bruce will get it 1 away. So I mean, if you're the Dodgers, if you're the Giants, and for that matter now Arizona, Diamondbacks are only 5.5 out. Right. If you're the Mets, if you're the Washington Nationals, all 5 of those clubs
better win your division.
Unless something changes in the next 3 nights. And it's got to happen right now for the Giants. Unless something happens in the next 3 nights, you could make a case that all 5 of those teams are playing for 2 playoff berths.
Yeah, you look at how the Reds finished their schedule, especially after this Dodgers series.
That's a hot smash. It gets by Votto. That'll be a hit all the way.
But the Reds have a few games against Milwaukee. But other than that, you're playing Pittsburgh, you're playing the Cardinals, you're playing the Cubs, you're playing the Giants, you're playing the Mets. There's a chance that the Reds can either make a difference in where those clubs finish, or they can just let them cruise right on along.
I think all but like about 10 games the Reds have the rest of the year, if even that now, are against teams that are over 500.
Right. The games that you have against Milwaukee, those are the 9 or 10 games
right.
you're talking about.
And that's it.
Other than that, everybody else is in the playoff.
Yep. Reds have 9 games left with the Brewers. And you take those 9 away. And man, I mean, to think you're 2 out of division series you play the entire month of September are against the Mets and the Giants.
Well, what it should do is it should elevate the play of the Reds, simply because you've got something to play for and against. It's not like the Reds are going to go to the postseason, but what you can do is you can get up for a club that is trying to get to the postseason, and your idea as a Red is to spoil it for them. At least it gives you some incentive. You're not playing the Marlins for the rest of the year. Pretty good hack by Wood right there.
Yeah, on a 2-strike pitch. He put down a bunt the last time, you may remember, for a sacrifice on a 2-strike pitch. And he bunts this one foul for strike 3. Saturday, MLB on Fox Sports 1 returns. The Red Sox will take on the New York Mets. That'll be followed by the AL East leading Yankees taking on the Atlanta Braves. Coverage begins Saturday, 3:30 Eastern, right here on Fox Sports 1 and streaming live on Fox Sports Go. Yankees go into play tonight where they're trailing in the 4th inning against Houston in the Bronx, 5-0. The Yankees are tied atop the division with the Toronto Blue Jays. Toronto just underway, bottom of the first inning in Texas.
I think Texas has surprised a whole lot of folks. Now we know Houston has, but I did not expect Texas to be anywhere near where they were at this point in time, especially losing all the pitchers that they lost in the starting role.
They're 3.5 games out of first. They leapfrogged the Angels for second place in the AL West. Down around the feet of Rollins, and they are right now. The Yankees and Toronto are tied for the division lead. They're also tied for the best records in the wild card. Texas is next, 4.5 back.
And if you think about it, the Rangers are the ones that traded for Josh Hamilton, but yet he hasn't gotten to play a whole lot. He's on the disabled list now.
Yep.
And they've still been able to thrive.
You know, 4 or 5 days ago, there were 6 teams within 4.5 games of the wild card lead in the American League. And all of a sudden, the wheels have fallen off half of them. Baltimore's lost 5 in a row. Detroit lost 5 in a row. The Angels have lost 4 in a row.
You know, that's something that numbers can't really quantify. But the pressure of playing big ball games when you haven't played big ball games all year,
sure, that
changes those numbers and your approach to the game a little bit.
There's ball 4 to Rollins. That is the 3rd walk given up by John Lamb. His next pitch will be his 90th pitch, and we're in the 4th. And he has to face Yasiel Puig.
And it's a 2-out walk with a runner at first, so it puts automatically Kike Hernandez in scoring position, albeit with 2 down. But you're in the heart of the Dodger order.
Cowboy, we haven't read as much about Puig this year, and maybe some of the things. You know, he was never doing anything to get in trouble with a loss. So I want to make sure I preface by saying that. You know, he's so young when he came up, of course, defected from Cuba. And,
well, he did drive 110 on the interstate.
He did do that, but you've done that.
Yes, I have.
All right. So.
But I didn't get caught.
You know what I mean.
I got you.
We'll get back to Puig in a minute. That one's off the end of the bat, and he slams that broken bat into the ground. I want to ask you about Yasiel Puig when we come back. He just turned 24. Dodgers lead 3-0. Junie McKnight of Cincinnati will win that Tundra, and you can win your chance to get it. Just stop by your Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky Toyota dealers. All right, after Votto hits, I want to come back to you about Puig and just setting the table, kind of, Cowboy, where you see him now moving forward. And I know you don't have a crystal ball, so I don't mean to throw you on the spot on this, but I mean, when this guy came up, he looked like he was going to be all world. He had a good year last year. Not a great year, but a good year. And he played the entire year as a 23-year-old. He turned 24 right before this season. Missed a lot of time as Votto takes outside, 2 balls and no strikes. Votto has not seen a strike in this game yet. And I mean, really hasn't seen a pitch anywhere close to the strike zone. You know, you almost wonder what happens to pitchers. You and I were talking, you know, Votto v. Bonds earlier before the game. And for those of you, and I happen to be living out west and saw the Giants a ton during that Bonds run. He wasn't being pitched to like Votto's being pitched to. And what I mean by that is he was being intentionally walked all the time.
Every time. Even with Jeff Kent hitting behind him.
But what stuns me is, and this is not taking anything away from Votto's power, because it's reemerged this year. He has a good number. It's in the top 10 in the league at 24, but it's not a Bonds number.
No.
And I'm often amazed at, you know, here he is leading off an inning. You have a 3-0 lead, and 4 out of the 6 pitches are not even close to the strike zone.
Well, I think part of Joey's issue is that he drives the ball to the opposite field. That's where he hits his home runs. Rarely does he hit the ball out to the moon deck or to right field for home runs. It's from the center field all the way to the left field line. Now, from a pitcher's standpoint, especially in today's game, pitchers don't pitch inside anymore. So when you have your position where you like to pitch for outs taken away from you, all of a sudden you try to be too fine and you end up walking the batter, and that's what happens with Votto.
Oh, and 1 the count on Brandon Phillips. And now 1 ball and 1 strike. You know, we gave those numbers last night, and I still can't believe it. The graphic we just showed you a moment ago made reference to Barry Bonds. Here's Votto has been on base 108 times his last 200 plate appearances. Bonds that year 138 times reached base. That ball driven into deep right field, and Puig will get it. Up in front of the wall. You better get back to the bag. With this guy cutting it loose. 1 away in the inning. But for those of you that weren't with us last night, and we all agree Votto is having an outstanding year.
Yeah.
But to put it in perspective, compared to Bonds that year, Votto already has 55 more at-bats. Take the plate appearances out of the equation altogether. Bonds had 617 plate appearances in that year. He got 373 at-bats the entire year.
Well, they walked him with the bases loaded.
Right. He hit 45 home runs and knocked in over 100 runs and won the batting title, batting .362.
But I think that mainstream media today just discount everything that hitters did in the 90s. Really the late 80s, 90s, and into the 2000s because of all the steroid controversy.
And it's almost like you have to preface anything you say about those players during that time frame because it was the steroids era.
But not every player was taking something. Maybe there were a lot, but not every player.
Reds down 3-0. Frazier the batter. Had a good pitch to hit right there. Fouled it back. Frazier doubled down the left field line his first time up.
Well, let's go back to Yasiel Puig, because you were talking about that.
Where do you see him moving forward?
A year does not a career make. That's where I stand with Yasiel Puig. He burst onto the scene. He looked like he was excited to be here. He was full speed in everything that he did. Now, did he make some rookie mistakes? Yes, he did. But as the league started to adjust to his wild swings and his wild actions on the field, things started to happen a little negatively for Yasiel Puig. What he's got to get back to is just playing baseball, forgetting about the outside influence in Los Angeles, because it can be overwhelming. When you get between the lines, you just play ball and you just put the ball in play. Now, he's had some injury issues as well. Those injury issues can really take away from your ability on the field.
Puig has only played 74 games this whole year. 2-2 pitch. Ramming foul.
But the thing that bothers me the most with Yasiel Puig, and I don't know the guy, I'm not around the Dodgers every day, I only see what individuals write and what we hear. But when something is negatively portrayed about Yasiel Puig, there is not one player that comes to his defense. Now that is a problem. And ultimately, it's a Dodger problem. As we talked about chemistry earlier, one bad apple can upset the whole cart. Not to say that's Yasiel Puig, but it seems like that's how it's been portrayed in the mainstream media.
But a follow-up to that, without spending, all the time on Puig here. I mean, from the outside looking in, it is almost impossible to believe, on a team full of guys that have been playing 8, 10, 12 years in the major leagues, that a kid 23 years old pollutes a whole team. Well, that's impossible to believe.
The problem that you have as a veteran.
There's strike 3 called to Frazier, 2 away in the inning.
As a veteran player, when you learn to play the game a certain way, and you're trying to help a young player learn to play the game the right way, to be aggressive, to be a team player, and that player totally blows you off or says, no, I'm only going to do it my way, all of a sudden you alienate all of your teammates. And that can't happen. And you've got to have a group of guys that go to him, and I think the Dodgers have done that. And now all of a sudden you're starting to hear trade talk coming up here in the end of 2015, heading into 2016, when it concerns the Dodger right fielder.
Well, they'll be lined up to take him.
We'll see.
Well, I can't speak for anybody else, but I'll tell you what, I'll take him. 24 years old. Get him into maybe a little more cozy environment here. Smaller town. Not to say you can't have outside influences.
Less media pressure.
Yeah, I mean,
because let's face it,
right now,
here in Cincinnati, this is an easy place to play when it comes to media. And a lot of these players that are playing here now, this is all they've ever known. And you go to New York, you go to L.A., you go to Philadelphia, Chicago. There are a lot of different places out there where when you don't produce for a month, they will eat you alive.
Popped up left side of the infield, so right through the heart of the order, and all the Reds can manage is a walk. And to 4, Dodgers in front, 3-0.
this season. We told you about Skip Schumacher and Adam Wainwright started Big League Impact, and they wanted to take advantage of the popularity of fantasy football and do it for charity. Well, today they held that draft here at Great American Ballpark. 4 Reds players took part in addition to Skip Schumacher. It was Todd Frazier, Brian Pena, Zach Cozart. Billy Hatcher was also there to help out. And for a pretty premium price, fans could get involved and actually draft teams against these Reds players. So they will play the entire season against the Reds players. And there you saw a shot of Brian Pena, who is an unapologetic Patriots fan. His first round pick, Gronkowski. He would later draft Brady, the Patriots defense. He loads up with as many Patriots as he can. So all in fun, but for a good cause. Last year, Big League Impact doing this raised over $450,000. 9 teams around the league do it. And congratulations to everyone involved.
All right, Jim, thank you very much. Adrian Gonzalez hit by a pitch to start this 5th inning. Got him right in the ribs.
Sometimes you got to go in there.
Well, now Turner, last time he came to the plate, he had Gonzalez aboard, and Turner hit a home run to left field. Number 15 on the year for Turner, who has 51 runs batted in.
And you look at Turner right now with that leg kick and the body lane, the upper body lane out over the plate. You have to go in to keep him honest. If you pitch him away, that's the ball he hooks. And that home run looked like he hit it right off the end of the bat, but he kept his front shoulder closed and he was really climbing over the plate.
Here's a home run. And it was away from him, as you talked about, Cowboy, and he hooked it to the seats first row.
Ball was elevated just enough where he could get out there and hook it. When you've got batters doing that, you have to come in.
Now Turner hits it hard the other way, and Bruce will back up to make the catch. Many forget that Justin Turner originally was a Cincinnati Red. He was drafted in the 7th round of 2006. Spent a couple of years, 2.5 years, in the Reds minor league system before being traded in the Ryan Friel deal.
It's one of those guys that's a late bloomer.
Went over there with Ryan, and that's when the Reds picked up the catcher Ramon Hernandez. Then he was acquired off waivers by the Mets. Signed as a free agent. Really nobody wanted Turner. You know, the year before he had 200 at bats with the Mets in 13, and last year became a, as you mentioned, sort of a local hero. Guy coming off the bench getting big base hits.
It made Uribe expendable. And that's one of the reasons they were able to trade him without any worry at all.
All right, here's Van Slyke, who has walked and struck out. 3 runs, 5 hits for the Dodgers. No runs and 2 hits for the Reds against Alex Wood. We're in the top of the 5th inning. That one popped up and easily handled by Votto. 2 out. Start your weekends off with a bang. Fireworks Fridays here at the ballpark. Yes, sir. September the 4th. Join the Reds for the Grateful Dead night. See your Redlegs and the Brewers. Post-game fireworks show featuring a Grateful Dead soundtrack presented by Gabriel's Place. 513-381-REDS or log on to Reds.com for tickets. 2 away. And here's Utley. He struck out swinging each of his first 2 times. In there, a fastball, strike 1. 2 out. Runner at first. 0-2 pitch. That one never had a chance when it left his hand. A ball and 2 strikes. Ryan Matthews, the first sign of activity in the Cincinnati bullpen tonight. Breaking ball away. You know, we were talking about the Reds, and in September, the 2 series they play outside their own division against contending teams. The Dodgers 2 series outside of their division. They play the Angels and the Pirates.
Oh, Billy. Well, freeway series
in September. And look, you know, inside that National League West, I think we've seen it with Arizona just recently over the weekend. They're capable of beating anybody at the right time. You know what it's like to have to go to play in Colorado. Rockies are not having a good year.
Yeah, but anything can happen in that ballpark.
Ground ball left side. Frazier will play to first. We go to the bottom of the 5th, where the Dodgers lead the Reds 3-0.
Make sure to stick around for Reds Live, brought to you by Performance Kings Honda, for a complete recap and interviews from the locker room.
All right, let's see if the Reds can get anything started here in the last of the 5th inning. They trail 3-0. It looks like that'll probably be it, with a pitcher spot due up 3rd. Lamb 5 hits, 3 runs, 3 walks in his 5 innings. Very high pitch count for Lamb, which will probably mean the end of his night.
You know, there are certain pitchers, Tom, that you see go out there and they may give up 3 runs in 5 innings and a high pitch count, and you think, boy, he just did get through that game. And then you see a guy like Lamb go out 3 runs in 5 innings, and in my mind, I'm thinking to myself, he's 1 or 2 pitches away from really figuring this thing out and extending himself into the 7th inning. He has tremendous pitchability in my mind. Strong-willed kid. He competes. He's got all the tools to be able to compete. But let's face it, folks, he's still a rookie. And being a rookie in this league is tough.
Reds have 2 base hits. They've drawn 3 walks, 2 of the 3 to Votto by Wood. And a 3-1 offering is swung on and bounced by the diving third baseman into the corner. And De Jesus in with the double. So this is now the 4th time in 5 innings tonight where the Reds have the leadoff man aboard. In fact, all 3 of their hits in this game against Wood have been hits from the leadoff batter in an inning.
Now, if you think about the leadoff double by Frazier in the second, if you were able just to move him to third, the whole inning changes with a fly ball. You get on the board. Same thing here. You can get him to third base, you get a run, you can change the concept of this game, but that's not going to do it.
Tucker Barnhart has seen 2 pitches and 2 at-bats in this game. A double play ground ball at the shortstop and a first pitch ground ball to the shortstop after a leadoff double. So now Ryan Lamar, the batter. Ryan just made his major league debut over the weekend. Had a chance to meet his family. They made the ride down from the state of Michigan. Delightful mom and dad. Got his first big league hit.
I love watching the reactions of his mom.
Oh, yeah.
Because it reminded me of my mom when I first played. Just as nervous as she could be. You could see her wringing her hands and cheering, and her husband on the side saying, "Calm down now, you're all right. Calm down."
Kevin and Marianne Lamar, his sisters were here. And boy, it was so nice while they were here that he got his first big league hit. I don't know if they're here any longer. I know they work up in Michigan, and today being back to work Monday. You can pretty much bet your bottom dollar they'll be in Milwaukee.
Oh, yeah.
Nothing at 2 on Lamar. And now Wood going to back off the rubber.
I can still remember my parents flying out to San Francisco to see the World Series, to see their kid in his rookie year playing in the World Series. Earthquake. 10 days later, mom and dad got to go to work. Didn't get to see one game.
Man, really?
Not one.
Wow.
But they got to feel a 7.1.
That was no fun.
No, it was not.
It was no fun.
It was not. I think my mom would have stayed. My dad wasn't real sure about that shaky ground.
Well,
he's ready to head on.
I don't blame him. I happen to be out there.
We'll watch you on TV.
Yeah, and it was scary. Lamar gone on strikes. Looked that runner back to second just in case before making a throw down. That is the 4th strikeout of the game for Alex Wood. And here comes Jason Bourgeois. So, as Cowboy brought up earlier, the Reds got that double by Frazier to begin the 2nd inning. 1 out later, a walk. And then a double play ball into the inning. Here they get the leadoff double, and De Jesus is still standing there with 2 outs in the inning. Jason Bourgeois waiting. And it's too low. Bourgeois, a single to center to lead off the game. He bounced out to the second baseman Utley in the 3rd.
More times than not, when you try to get them all back, all 3 runs back with 1 swing of the bat, you fail. You can move a runner and manufacture a run. You can chip away and keep the pressure on the opponent. Keep yourself in the ball game. When you have 2 leadoff doubles, you got to figure out a way to get that guy to third base.
And far more importantly, you got to find a way to get him home. Drive into right center field, and Puig with a running catch to end the inning.
That's a big league play.
That is a big league play indeed by Yasiel Puig. We played 5 where the Dodgers lead the Reds 3-0. Go further by Meyer. Find more for a healthier you at Meyer. And by Cincinnati Children's, ranking 3rd in the country on the U.S. News and World Report's best children's hospitals in America. And as always, we send out a special hello to those of you that are watching from over at Cincinnati Children's Hospital tonight, praying that you've had a good day today and an even better one tomorrow.
You know, there are so many children that Cincinnati Children's Hospital sees that are not anywhere from around here.
Oh no, they're all over the world.
They come all the way from the south, the north, east, west to this hospital.
Well, all over the world. They're the #1 ranked children's hospital in cancer care, and so it's sad, it breaks your heart, but there are a lot of really good things that happen over there, and a lot of wonderful stories and a lot of miracles taking place.
And great caring people that are at that hospital.
There's no doubt about it. No doubt about it.
Ryan Matthews taking over now.
And the first batter he faces is A.J. Ellis, who lifts a fly ball into left field. Evande Jesus Jr. had never played the outfield until the Reds brought him to the major leagues. And now they feel like they can plug him in just about anywhere, Cowboy, and he'll give you a good effort.
Well, I think when you look at De Jesus and you see his work ethic, you realize he could probably play anywhere on the diamond. He could get back behind home plate and catch. He's a great athlete, but what's going to keep him here is his offensive production. He's been able to swing the bat off the bench and in a starting role.
Well, I tell you what, after seeing his dad, I might think about talking him into a comeback. I don't know if I've ever seen a man his age. It's a more physically imposing looking man. I don't mean a big 6'5", 240-pound guy, but he's a man.
But he looked like that when he was playing.
Yeah.
I remember playing with him when he was on rehab with the Giants, and we were in AAA, looking at him thinking, dude, what are you eating? Let me get on your game.
No, there is no question.
I guarantee you he was ready to go.
Hernandez with a 1-2 count, and a tapper to Hopper to third. Frazier plants, throws him out, 2 away. So Matthews, when he comes in throwing strikes, man, he's hard to hit. Reds took a flyer on Matthews after all the problems they were having in their bullpen. He's been up and down, but you know, the times, Cowboy, and you've talked about it many times, when he gets himself in trouble, like everybody else out there, is if you're having a hard time throwing the ball over the plate.
Now, the thing for Ryan Matthews is when he's had a day off and he's not pitching 3 or 4 days in a row, he's usually rather sharp. But what Ryan Matthews does that a lot of guys don't do is he will take the ball every day. If his shoulder's sore, if his back's hurting, he doesn't care. If he can get to the mound, he'll take the baseball. I like that kind of guy on my team.
Fastball away. 2-1 on the pitcher Wood. Sean Marshall. And he's been down the track a time or two, and I'm sure there are a few things Wood can learn from him. Wood bangs one into center field. That's his 7th hit this season. Jimmy Rollins comes to the plate for already the 4th time in the game, and we're only in the 6th inning. 3 runs, 6 hits for the Dodgers to go along with 3 walks and a hit batter. Reds have been shut out on 3 base hits, 3 walks. Strike 1 to Rollins, who for the first time tonight bats left-handed. Only hitting .201 as a left-handed batter is Rollins. He's up over .315 from the right side. Here's another guy that's just had an outstanding career. Over 500 doubles. Among all active players, only Alex Rodriguez, Adrian Beltre, David Ortiz, and Albert Pujols have that many. He's one of just 58 players in the history of the game with 500 or more doubles. Closing in on 500 career stolen bases.
I can remember being in spring training when he was coming up with the Phillies. He was a little man. Now he turned into big man.
What a good player for a long time. You brought up earlier about playing in a tough town. I'll tell you what now. You play in Philadelphia for 12 years, 14 years, like Rollins and Utley did. You better be a stand-up guy and better not be ducking the media. And man, when Rollins was going bad, they were on him like nobody's business.
And he was still answering
He was
questions.
there every night. You brought it up earlier. Players who play in towns like here and St. Louis and Arizona, and there are so many others. You better thank the heavens above you play in those towns. Now, there's an electricity in those other places that there may not be in some of the smaller places. That one is hammered to right on a 3-2 pitch, and it's 5-0 Dodgers.
Got 2 quick outs to begin the inning, but watch where this pitch is. Fastball up and out over. And you can kiss the baby when you make one like that.
There is a lot more pop in that bat from Rollins from the left side. 11 of his now 13 home runs have been left-handed, despite the fact that he's only hitting .200. Well, I'm always brought to, I'll never forget. And, we always talk about it, but until you see it with somebody that you know, the best illustration I can give about going to that tough town, big market kind of thing was Randy Johnson. This is Randy Johnson now. We're talking about one of the great pitchers in the history of the game. He was 42 years old when he got traded to the Yankees. 42. The Diamondbacks came in to play the Mets 2 months into Johnson's first season there, and it had gotten off to a horrible start. And on the first page of the sports section was a cartoon that could not have been more derogatory towards another human being imaginable than there was about Randy Johnson. It's like you said, bad month or two.
Woo. Well, and in New York or Philly or one of those types of towns, it can be a couple of days and they put you on the front page. You stink.
5-0 Dodgers lead after 5.5.
Reds. It may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cincinnati Reds.
All right, Reds come to bat. 3-0 became 5-0 after the home run by Jimmy Rollins. But of course, they were down last night 5-0 in the same inning when they came to the plate. And then after the first batter was retired, Skip Schumacher, they unleashed 10 runs, 7 hits.
And this was the guy that started it in Eugenio Suarez.
That's right. He hit that solo home run to get him on the board. Of course, they had only had 1 hit through the first 5 innings last night. And 10 runs and 7 hits against 4 different pitchers. Glove side for Turner. We're talking about how hot Joey Votto has been. He's very much in the driver's seat, presented by Kia. Well, he's always loved facing these Dodgers. .339 career batter. Only David Wright of the Mets a higher career batting average against the Dodgers than Joey. You know, Jim Day, you're down there locked and loaded regularly and checking in with the players day in and day out in that clubhouse. And I know you see it when you have a chance to visit with Votto. and how locked in he is from the second he walks into the clubhouse door.
Well, it's hard to tell one day to another with Joey on how he's doing, because he's always locked in mentally, whether he's doing well or not. But it was interesting talking to Brian Price. He said back when he was a pitching coach, he used to have the look in his eyes, and he used to tell Brian Price that, I don't think there's anyone in the league that can get me out. He truly felt like there wasn't a pitcher that could get him out. And Brian Price said since the All-Star game, since that break, he's seen that same type of look in his eyes. Right now, he doesn't feel like anyone can get him out. And they are certainly pitching around him because he is walking a ton.
Votto has walked in each of his first 2 times up. He has not swung at a single pitch in this game yet tonight. And this is his 3rd plate appearance. We talked about how the first at bat, they were nowhere near the zone. That's the first time he swung the bat tonight. Fouled it off third base side on a 2-2 pitch. One out here in the Reds' 6th inning. Can they get something going? Balls, 2 strikes to Votto, and a roller at Utley. 2 out. This Woods putting together a pretty nice game here tonight. Now, Cowboy, makes you wonder, why would the Braves trade a 24-year-old left-hander who has a career ERA of 3.1?
I think part of it is when you watch him mechanically, even though he's getting outs, but what the Braves are trying to do right now is project 2 years down the road. And I think when you see a guy throw with very unorthodox mechanics, the first thing you think of is an injury risk.
Brandon shoots one into right center field, a base hit, cut off by Puig.
Don Mattingly is heading to the mound.
Well, they have the right-hander Chris Hatcher up and throwing in the pen.
Normally when Mattingly is walking this slow, going out to make a pitching change, they just got J.P. Howell, a left-hander, up in their bullpen.
He's only thrown 88 pitches.
Right. And that's all he's going to throw.
So this will be our Skyline Chili call to the bullpen. Hatcher replaces Wood, who leaves after 88 pitches working on a 4-hit shutout. We're back in a moment. game, and he is apparently wondering the same thing. Watch this. Working on a 4-hit shutout in the 6th inning. Allowed a 2-out single. He's thrown 88 pitches in the game and gets the hook. You know, someone in the hallway flippantly made the comment, "Welcome to the world of sabermetrics." The 3rd time through the batting order, the numbers say that Alex Wood allows a .357 batting average. Now, whether or not
you might could say the same thing about David Price. You might could say the same thing about a lot of pitchers. But on some nights, throw those stats right in the garbage.
So here's Hatcher. And that same person who sees the Dodgers regularly said that, well, their bullpen needs all the room it can get. They've had some issues down in that bullpen. And they have a 5-0 lead. Bottom line is they're sitting atop the National League West. And that's all that matters at the end of the day. Now, we don't know if perhaps Wood is frustrated because something physically is wrong with him. In all fairness to any of this debate about why he's coming out of a game, he could be frustrated because something's bothering him. Swinging a foul ball out of play.
Well, the look of his face when he was taken out of the ball game did not appear to be a very happy face. Maybe we're headed towards a game of baseball where the manager just is a calligraphy artist, where he writes out the lineup and the men upstairs call down and say, okay, his statistics say you need to take him out of the game now and bring in so and so.
Well, there are some teams where that's basically going on already, and that's not a stretch.
Well, we'll see how it goes.
That's right. That's right.
If they win with it, everybody will do it.
That's right. Grounded fair up the line. And on his way to third, Phillips, he's going to come on and try to score. Here comes the throw to the plate. He's safe. An RBI double by Todd Frazier makes it a 5-1 ball game, and that run, of course, will be charged to Alex Wood.
That ball hit the foot of third base umpire Chris Guccione. And when it did, it killed the baseball and made Scott Van Slyke really have to come a long way. Kicked off the glove of a diving third baseman, Justin Turner.
And I tell you what, there aren't a lot of men in their 30s that are going to score on this ball from first base.
No.
Phillips is busting it all the way. Frazier, his 38th double. That leads the league. J.P. Howell, the left-hander, will now come on from a Dodger bullpen to face Jay Bruce.
And Hatcher gets left-handers out at a 207 clip.
We're back in a moment. RBI. And now J.P. Howell on the face of left-handed batting Jay Bruce. Hatcher faces one batter, allows the RBI double. Now Howell. Bruce a strikeout and a pop-up to Rollins at short. One and two to Bruce. Frazier out at second base with 2 away, and Howell will look back and now to the plate. Try to get him to chase that same pitch. And it's even up to Jay Bruce. Still 2-2.
Well, J.P. Howell's best pitch is the changeup, and he will throw the changeup to left-handed batters. We've seen curveball and fastball thus far, but he'll throw that changeup. And not many lefties see changeups from left-handed pitchers.
On the ground to Gonzalez, and the Reds are through in the inning. But they get a run. They go to 7, 5-1. Dodgers in front.
Celebrating Reds Oktoberfest. Arrive early for pregame ceremonies and activities celebrating German Heritage Day. Plus, first 20,000 fans receive a Red Stein thanks to Hollywood Casino. For tickets, call 513-381-REDS. Visit select Kroger locations or reds.com/tickets. I'm Jim Day. We continue to update you on some of the Reds pitchers that are in the system, namely one of the 3 pitchers that came over in the Johnny Cueto deal. And that guy tonight would be Brandon Finnegan. Started again at Louisville. They've been stretching him out from bullpen work. Now a starter, 4 innings, 4 hits, just 1 earned run, walked 2 batters, and struck out 5. He threw 84 pitches tonight. And Finnegan is a guy who, as I said, they've been trying to stretch out. And Brian Price, when talking about what's going to happen in September, where a lot of these young pitchers are going to reach their innings limit, Finnegan is one of those guys that he wants to pitch straight through September because he doesn't have a high innings count, and they want to stretch him out. So look forward to seeing Brandon Finnegan, regardless of the results at AAA, up here in September.
Yeah. Brian Price just talking about that yesterday. Jim Day, thank you very much. So we'll get a chance to see him with the big league club. And look forward to seeing him. Of course, last year he was the first pitcher ever to pitch in the same calendar year in the College World Series and the World Series. Pitching out of the bullpen for the Kansas City Royals. They didn't waste any time. But that was all as a reliever. Pulled foul by Adrian Gonzalez as he faces Ryan Matthews on for his 2nd inning of work. Reds are trailing 5-1, top of the 7th inning.
Well, I don't think there's any doubt that Brandon Finnegan will have a spot on the big league club. The question is, will it be in the rotation or will it be in the bullpen? That 2nd and 3rd time around, even for the best of pitchers, can be difficult.
Gonzalez gone swinging. And here comes Justin Turner. First strikeout for Ryan Matthews.
Split-fingered fastball, and boy, the bottom fell out of that one. Started middle in and just took a nosedive.
Long way to go in this season. And we brought up earlier the Dodgers with just a 1.5 lead over the Giants for top spot in the National League West. The Dodgers have not played in a World Series since 1988. That's right. Haven't even been to one since 1988.
But they did win that one.
They did. That was with Orel Hershiser.
Kirk Gibson.
Hershiser winning games 2 and game 5. Orel, of course, now their lead television analyst, sitting alongside Charlie Steiner. Of course, they do all the road games on television. Vin Scully, the legendary voice of the Dodgers, does just about all the home games. And he'll make an isolated trip from time to time down to San Diego or San Francisco. That's about it. And Vin has not decided, talking with all the Dodger folks, whether or not he is going to return next year. There's a one-hopper down to third. Frazier will throw out Turner, 2 away in the inning. It's normally about this time of the year where Vin Scully will let everybody know whether or not he's going to come back for one more go-round. And when he was asked that question recently, he said, I don't know yet, which of course sends everybody into Los Angeles, and understandably so, and into a state of, oh no. 65 consecutive years Vin Scully has been the voice of the Los Angeles Dodgers. 65 years.
That's a lot of broadcasting.
Yes, it is.
A lot of stories, a lot of words, a lot of home run calls, a lot of striking.
A lot of big moments. No question about that. Swinging a foul ball off out of play. And is considered, you know, among all broadcasters ever in any sport as perhaps being the best of all time. Well, you grew up listening to him and every day, and well, you are fortunate indeed. 1 ball, 1 strike, taken up and away.
I used to love coming into Dodger Stadium, sitting in that first base dugout. John Miller would be down there. Vin Scully would be down there. They'd share stories. Now, that was kind of their private time to share stories. Of course, as a pitcher, you're out there doing your running and doing your extra work. I came out there one day, I could hear those voices, and I thought, I'm going to sit down here and act like I'm getting some water. I have to rest a little bit. Second day, I was a little closer. And by the time I had a couple years in the big leagues, I just sat down there right by him and listened.
On the ground to Phillips, and that'll do it. A 1-2-3-7 for Ryan Matthews. Reds come to bat, bottom of the 7th inning, trailing 5-1. The 7th inning. Our DirecTV standings, we look out to the National League West. A game and a half for these Dodgers, a lead over the Giants. Arizona lost last night, slipping a half game further back, 5.5 back, but they're in it. We're starting to talk about the Dodgers have not played in a World Series in 27 years. That's hard to believe for the Dodgers. But
and I would think, Tom, that when you look at this ball club and what they have there, especially with Kershaw and Greinke and some of the offensive players that they have, the window is closing for this group to get back there.
Oh, yeah. And I'll tell you, if you have to find one player in either league, there will not be a player that has nearly the amount of pressure placed on him in this year's postseason if the Dodgers make it as Clayton Kershaw.
I agree.
Because as spectacular as he has been during the regular season, and there is no debate about it. He's been the best regular season pitcher in baseball 3 years running. Now, his teammate has been a little better than him this year in Greinke.
I think they will both be expected to carry this club to the brass ring.
But I think even more so with Kershaw because of what has happened in the playoffs the last couple of years. You know, in the division series in 2013, Kershaw got a win in Game 1. When they beat Atlanta that year, they scored a ton of runs for him early in that game. He did not pitch well his second go-round. Here's a 3-2 to De Jesus. But in 2013, once they reached the league championship series against the Cardinals, St. Louis beat him twice. One time he pitched very well. The last time, which was the decisive game, the elimination game, Kershaw was lit up by the Cardinals. And then in the playoffs last year, the division series, they played the Cardinals again. That one is lined into left field, a base hit. And Kershaw was beaten twice by St. Louis in the division series.
And especially seeing what Madison Bumgarner did for their arch rival, the San Francisco Giants, last year. That's the kind of performance now that you expect from a number one. And let's face it, they've got two number ones in Greinke and Kershaw, but Kershaw is the guy.
Well, what a talented pitcher he is, and just a terrific young man is Kershaw. There's a strike to Tucker Barnhart, but boy, in his career in the postseason, a 1-5 record with an earned run average over 5.
And I remember when Barry Bonds was younger, and the Pirates, the Giants going into the playoffs, there was nobody pitching to Bonds, but yet he was still expected to carry the club, and it didn't happen. And so ultimately a loss was not blamed on the pitcher or any other player. It was blamed on Bonds. When you're the lightning rod and expected to be the go-getter and the savior of the club, you're the one that takes the brunt of the blow when you lose, and you're the one that gets all the hail glory when you win.
0-2 on Barnhart, and a nice block on that pitch in the dirt by A.J. Ellis. De Jesus has been on base all 3 times tonight. A walk, a double, and now a single to start the 7th inning. You have Barnhart now, who is 0 for 2. And Skip Schumacher is standing in the on-deck circle. Another nice block. I mean, the other choices for Brian Price, even with this left-hander on the mound. Brennan Bosch, apparently, Jim Day, you said he was walking around with a boot down there.
Yeah, he's got a deep bone bruise, taking a foul ball off his foot, and try to get the inflammation out of there. He's in a walking boot, so I'm not even sure if he's available. They already had a 4-man bench, so pretty much a 3-man bench tonight.
Well, you get guys walking around in a boot, you wonder, when are they coming back?
Well, if you had a boot on today, probably not available.
Two-2 pitch, and it's a tapper foul. If you're wondering about Schumacher, we know he's a left-handed batter. He only has 16 at bats his whole year against left-handed pitching, but he has 5 base hits. So he's done a good job. Few and far between.
The thing you can be assured of that when Schumacher comes to the plate, he's going to give you a quality at bat.
It's another double play ball. 2 outs in the inning.
Rough night for Tucker Barnhart. Juan Nicasio warming in the Dodger bullpen. Former starter for the longest time.
One and one on Schumacher. Five runs, 7 hits for the Dodgers, 1 run, 6 hits for the Reds. Schumacher has been an outstanding pinch hitter this season. This will be a 2-hopper to third, and that's all for the Reds after a leadoff single. We march on to the 8th inning. Dodgers lead by 4. Double by Jimmy Rollins. He would score on a double off the bat of Yasiel Puig. Move to the third. A double by Adrian Gonzalez. He would score on a 2-run home run by Justin Turner. All those runs against starter John Lamb in his 5 innings. And then after Ryan Matthews retired the first 2 batters, he allowed a single to the pitcher. And then gave up a 2-run home run to Jimmy Rollins. Reds finally got on the board after Wood was removed from the game. Chris Hatcher surrendered a run-scoring double to Todd Frazier, scoring Brandon Phillips. And you're up to speed. 5-1 Dodgers in the first of 3. At the end of 7 and on to pitch for the Reds following Lamb and Matthews is Sam LeCure.
LeCure has faced 12 batters, and he's gotten 12 outs. And ultimately for Sam LeCure, it has nothing to do with the strikeouts, has nothing to do with velocity. It has everything to do with just getting those outs.
Cabo, do you notice any difference? And I know you didn't see Sam LeCure make any of his outings in AAA this year. So, you know, judging on what we saw in spring training, a lot has happened between then and now.
But I've talked to Sam, and I remember what he was going through in spring training.
It's good play there by Brandon. That's a nice play. He went a long way to get this ball. And Utley still gets up the line pretty well.
And he was hustling out of the box, smelling a hit. And Phillips quickly getting rid of the baseball. But going back to LeCure, I think early in spring training, he was told, velocity down, got to get your velocity up. Part of the reason that they sent him down. And as a pitcher, when you're told, well, you got to have velocity, you start to equate that, well, if I'm going to get called back up, I've got to pump the radar gun up. So that front shoulder flies out, arms all over the place. You're trying to throw the ball through the backstop, and you forget about what you're really out there for, and that is to pitch, change speeds, locate, get outs. The latter being the key, get outs. And I think as Sam's season went along and you start to hit the wall, things don't go your way, you start to remember, okay, how did I get outs when I was in the big leagues? And that two-seam fastball for LeCure that he starts inside to lefties off the plate or off the plate away to righties and it runs back to the outside corner, that has always been his money pitch. Is it 97 miles an hour? No. Sometimes it's 86. Sometimes it's 89. But the hitter sees it as a ball. So ultimately it comes down to location, changing speeds, and for Sam LeCure, got it. And he's got it.
Here's Hernandez. And it's strike one. Sam's retired the first two. Reds will have the top of the order in the bottom of the 8th inning. And I'm sure we'll see a new Dodger pitcher. Hal has given them an inning and a third. And the Reds are about to come to the plate. So here we go. Coast rivalry as the New York Red Bulls take on DC United. 7 o'clock Eastern on Fox Sports 1, sponsored by Audi. All right, Cowboy Reds have two more cracks at him here. Juan Nicasio takes over on the mound, his 39th game. Hard thrower.
hard slider. And as we were mentioning, as I talked about it before, this guy was a starter for a long time. Now at the back end of this Dodger bullpen.
Jason Bourgeois, the batter, and a fastball is in there, a strike. Bourgeois, 1 of 3, had a hit and an RBI taken away his last time up. He had a rocket into right center field, and Puig made the defensive play of the night, racing over in the gap to snatch it away. Broken bat, bouncer to the left side. Turner, and his throw is in time, and the call is out at first base, made by the crew chief Jeff Nelson, saying Gonzalez caught it, kept the toe on the bag. Rob Coughlin will certainly be taking a look at that.
Highly athletic and acrobatic play by Adrian Gonzalez. That ball bounced as he dove towards right field, still kept his foot on the bag, and caught the baseball.
That's a big league play.
How do you do that?
That's a big league play.
I mean, Turner had no choice but to get the ball and throw it in do or die fashion with the speed of Bourgeois. But that was a circus catch over there by Adrian Gonzalez.
Routine fly ball to right by Suarez. 2 away in the inning. Four pitches to get 2 outs for Nicasio here in the 8th. Votto has walked, and bounced out to second base. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Pedro Villarreal getting loose in the Reds bullpen. Fastball, a little hair on it, 97 miles per hour from Nicasio. Now the break-even pitch to Joey Votto. Tried that outside corner again at 97 and again missed.
Looked like it started on the plate, but had quite a bit of tail to it off the plate.
And Votto's walked for the 3rd time in the game. It's the 11th time this year that Votto has walked 3 or more times in a game.
A 3-2 slider to Votto with a 4-run lead.
And 2 outs in the inning.
Go figure. Maybe that's why A.J. Ellis just went to the mound. Did you check the scoreboard, big fella?
Well, as promised earlier in the game, we've selected our Data Strong fan photo of the game. You can tweet yours to hashtag Ohio Data Strong Fan. It's brought to you by T-Mobile. Teresa, very tired mom. How about that? It's pretty sweet, catchy, clever. Very nice, Teresa. And now Brandon dumps one into center field, a base hit. Well, now all of a sudden, after a walk to Votto, a single by Brandon, his second hit tonight. Frazier is 2 out of 3 with a pair of doubles and a run batted in, and one crack of the bat, you're within a run.
Oh, for the long ball.
But that gets back to what you were just talking about a minute ago. If he rears back and throws it as hard as he could to Votto, and Joey hits a home run.
Whoop-de-doo.
Right.
5-2. But when you walk a batter, especially with 2 outs and nobody on, you start to give the opposition a little bit of feeling of, well, maybe he's not, maybe he doesn't have it tonight. Maybe he's backing off a little bit.
Rick Honeycutt, longtime Dodger pitching coach.
And again, at this level, everybody's good. Everybody plays well. It's from the neck up that makes you great.
Sure. Luis Avilan, the former Atlanta Brave, he's getting ready for one guy, and that's the guy waiting in the on-deck circle. Frazier v. Nicasio with 2 on, 2 out, last to the 8th inning. Todd sitting on 29 home runs and 75 knocked in. Ball 1. Good numbers for Frazier against his Dodger right-hander. 3 of 8, including a long one. Two and 0.
When you try to strike a batter out on the first and second pitch, normally that does not bode well for you on the mound. You try to induce weak contact on the first and second pitch that you throw over the plate. Once you get 2 strikes, then you can go for the strikeout.
Three 3-0. Well, you know Frazier has a green light here.
Nicasio came out facing Bourgeois and Suarez, throwing bullseyes. Now he's throwing the ball as if he does not want to get hit.
Well, he also just basically threw the ball out of his hand, and those first 2 batters were swinging. 4 pitches to get 2 of them out. Did you see Brandon Phillips here before that pitch was thrown, what he was doing over there with Adrian Gonzalez? Take a look at this. He's facing Gonzalez. And when Gonzalez would move, now this is just before the, now he starts to move, and now he starts to move, and he starts to move, and again, before that 3-0 pitch. It is ball 4. So that's all for Nicasio.
Can't get picked off unless the first baseman goes to the bat.
They're loaded for Jay Bruce. He will face Avilan. Tying run comes to the plate. Don't go away. home run. And here we are on the 25th day of the month. Now, there have been plenty of other times you say, boy, right now would be a good time to get number 2. Right now would be one of those times. As he faces a left-hander who came over from the Braves, Luis Avila.
Heck, the way DeJesus is swinging the bat, you just take a single here. Let's just keep the rally going.
Bruce hitless tonight in 3 at-bats, and he started 2 and did not go around. Might have caught a break there. Pulled foul. Bruce 0 for 3 in his career against Avila. You know, we've talked a lot about Bruce and all the home runs over the last number of years he's had against left-handed pitching, and while those numbers are true, this year has not been nearly as good. He has 3 home runs all year long of his 18 against left-handed pitching.
And if I'm not mistaken, Albert Pujols has caught him in that category, home runs against left-handers over that certain period of time.
Two and two with the bases loaded to Jay Bruce. And he fouls it off out of play to the third base side to keep the at-bat moving. Can Bruce deliver with the bases loaded, down 4 here in the 8th?
Miller Lite. There you see the retired numbers of Dave Concepcion and Barry Larkin. David Concepcion, so many years the Reds basically just penciled in 2 starting shortstop for so long. Concepcion, the preeminent shortstop of his era. Man, could he pick it amongst the best. Remember the Big Red Machine. His number was retired in 2007. And then 5 years later, Cincinnati native Barry Larkin had his number 11 retired. Larkin has since gone on to the National Baseball Hall of Fame. Both are Reds Hall of Fame members. And there are many still crying, saying that Dave Concepcion deserves to be in the National Baseball Hall of Fame. But boy, was Cincinnati blessed for so many years. 2 of the best ever play the shortstop position.
Well, you are right about that, Mr. Day. Now, Cowboy, here's a guy who, as his season has gone on, has really done a solid job for the Reds. And that is Pedro Villarreal.
And I can remember when he first came up, things did not go well. And then he was sent back down, had a difficult time trying to make the adjustment from AAA back to the big leagues. But the key for Villarreal, as it is with most young pitchers, unless you just have super power stuff, is staying down in the strike zone. He's got 2 or 3 different pitches, fastball, slider, and the off-speed pitch, the changeup, that he can throw for strikes. But when he tries to overthrow, the ball elevates. And when you're throwing 92 and 93, and you elevate the ball up around the mid-thigh, those balls get crushed at this level. Now, they foul them off, or every once in a while one will get hit in AAA. But up here, they find the seats in fair territory.
Fly ball center field. Villarreal retires the first batter here in the inning. It's Carl Crawford off the Dodger bench. But if you're a deadhead, celebrate the Grateful Dead night at Great American Ballpark Friday, September 4th. A ticket package today if you buy it, and guarantee your very own Reds-themed dancing bear figurine. How about that? Purchase tickets today. Fireworks show afterwards. September the 4th.
Now, is a deadhead the same as like a zombie? Because, you know, that's a big,
in the condition that most of them are in at the concert, that would aptly describe a deadhead. Yes. Not every one of them.
I know they're not going to like lean over and bite the person next to them.
No. No. It's generally a very peaceful bunch, I will say, because I've been to a couple of the shows. It's a very peaceful bunch. On the ground off the bat of Rollins. Votto finds a handle.
So if you've been to those concerts, would you consider yourself a deadhead?
No. I just wanted to go to check it out.
Kind of see what the deadheads look like?
Yeah, and check the whole scene out and the whole thing. I mean, you know, you hear a lot about it, you read a lot about it. So I've gone, been there, done that, and that was it.
Now, the folks that used to go to the Neil Young concerts, were those considered deadheads?
No, that's it. You know, it's kind of like a brand and all its own. The Deadheads, because of the name of the band, the Grateful Dead.
They're big out in San Francisco.
Very big, very big. That's where they came out of. Jerry Garcia, the lead member of the band, the late Jerry Garcia. You know, probably the closest thing you've ever gotten to Jerry Garcia is that ice cream company that makes that flavor, Cherry Garcia. Have you ever had that?
I have.
You have?
But I didn't like it. I didn't like that. I don't like sweet stuff in my ice cream, like fruit.
Yeah,
like
right.
Fruity,
No, you don't want to mess around with
fruity stuff.
No way.
I like mint Oreo cookie. That's what I like. So actually, I love mint Oreo cookie.
Now, It's been well documented. You know, we don't have the pleasure of having you over on the television side enough, but have you eclipsed your record of scoops in a cup? What was that last? 9?
8.
8.
8 in the Cowboy Cup.
Straight up into the air. When is the last time you had a Cowboy Cup? 8 scoops of ice cream before we go to break.
That'd be last night. You scored, when you scored 10 runs, I'm coming to the party.
Save big money in Menards on all your home improvement needs. And by your local Toyota dealers, proud sponsor of the Cincinnati Reds. I can't stop chuckling. I'm sorry. I just saw one of the great T-shirts I've ever seen in the stands.
Now it's time for our flamethrower, brought to you by Cholula Hot Sauce. Came all the way back in the first inning. 94-mile-an-hour heater from one John Lamb as he strikes out Justin Turner. You look at the line for Lamb. Not a bad line. 6 strikeouts in 5 innings. He did walk 3 batters, gave up the 3 runs. But what I see, and this is what you like to see from young pitchers, is continued adjustments and improvements in certain areas as they move along. And I saw that tonight in John Lamb.
He's still searching for his first major league win.
He is.
And he's going to get it very soon. But you know what, it would have been really nice for him to get one of these 2 against the Dodgers.
Right.
Not that I mean, it's going to mean the world to him no matter who it's against. And it's coming. But knowing he grew up around that area and his maternal grandfather was a long time public address announcer at Dodger Stadium, told that whole story while the team was out in Los Angeles. John Ramsey, the heat of the PA at Dodger Stadium from 1958 all the way till 1994. Dodgers bring in their closer. Kelly Jansen has only blown 2 saves all year. Look at the walks, only 4. You've got to earn it against this guy. And when you know it, he falls behind 3-1.
For the most part, for Jansen, righty or lefty, the majority of his fastballs are cut fastballs. Now, they don't break a whole lot, but they break just enough to keep the ball off the barrel of the bat.
Well, DeJesus, a perfect night for him, will come to an end on a fly ball to right, a walk, a double, a single before that fly ball. Get ready 30 minutes before the start of every game with Reds Live, presented by Ray St. Clair Roofing. And once again, we come your way tomorrow night, 6:30 p.m. with the Reds Live. A pair of left-handers will get together. Brett Anderson, good ERA at 3.5. David Holmberg will start it for the Reds. Of course, Holmberg really got kicked around by this Dodger team out in Los Angeles after his first 3 starts this year as a Red were quite good. Swing and a miss for Tucker Barnhart. The Reds are down to their final out. Brian Pena will come off the Reds bench to bat with 2 outs and nobody on. You know, some of the little things tonight, you'll look back and some may remember, you know, Lamb's struggles, giving up that home run. Ryan Matthews retired the first 2 batters in the 5th inning, then gave up a pitcher base hit to Alex Wood, which kept the inning alive for Jimmy Rollins, who hit a 2-run home run. Some might talk about, you know, the bases loaded situation there, but, you know, you go back and you look early in this game, we mentioned that in 4 of the first 5 innings of this game, the Reds had a leadoff man aboard. That one tomahawked down the line and foul. Pena making a bid for his first home run of this season. But in 2 of those 4 cases, the Reds had a runner at second base to start the inning. And in neither case did that runner even advance to third.
Well, at that point early in the ball game, it was a 3-0 ball game. The Reds had a chance to chip away there in the 2nd, had the same opportunity in the 5th. If you can't move a runner, it's not going to work.
Play made by Utley, and that is out. A 1-2-3 9th inning for Jansen, and the Dodgers win it by a final count of 5-1. The Dodgers' 5-game losing streak is over. And at the very minimum, their lead in the NL West will be a 1.5 games when they wake up tomorrow. The Giants will be getting underway against the Cubbies here shortly. All right, Reds Live coming up next. 5-1 our final.